Okay, take two, because I was recording a video and then accidentally hit the back button while I was reaching for my coffee. So what the hey, let's start again. Welcome back, my friends, boys, girls, them, they, other, to the Art of the Storyteller, to the channel of me, Alan J. Fisher. I've been away for a long time and I will explain to you why in a short period of time. And I will also try and refocus my rambling, because maybe I deleted the last video in error because I was rambling way too much. I wasn't really keeping any focus or direction in it. So we'll start again, shall we? Welcome back. Thank you for coming back. I apologise the live streaming didn't work. I was running into a few technical issues that I couldn't figure a way around and going in what we would call a lather of indecision from my friend Bill Bryson. Long may he continue writing, or long may he be remembered. And I just wasn't able to get it up and going. I apologise. I did advertise it as coming soon and it came not at all. So sorry about that. So, welcome back. It's been a long time and a lot has happened since last we shared a video up on this channel. We will be sharing it on the Chronicle of Enoch channel as well, which is new. We'll be sharing it on our blog and website, and we'll be sharing it all over. Now, firstly, as you know, I was moving to Spain. I was in the Dominican Republic, and I was in the north of Spain, or the north of Andalusia, which is a part of Spain in the mountains of where my parents live, when last we spoke. I'm now in the south of Spain near Gibraltar with my wife and children. That period of difficulty has ended, which is why I'm smiling a lot more in this video and I'm a little thinner because things have been going better. Also, things have been changing an awful lot. As you know, the Chronicles of Enoch website and branded domain is out there. The blog is very active. My social media channels are very active, aside from the Facebook page and group, because though you may not know if you haven't paid attention to my very wide mentions of it on social media, Facebook took it upon themselves to completely and utterly ban me and anything associated with me from Facebook forever. Yep, I was posting an article and Facebook suddenly said, oh, this telephone number you used to have 5 years ago that I know you changed a month or so ago, we want you to verify a code that we're sending to that, even though that phone number now belongs to somebody else. So I did what any normal person would do, because I wanted to stay in touch with family and obviously my fans, because I had nearly 300 followers on the Chronicles of Enoch page there. I created a new page. After 5 unsuccessful attempts, I finally got one working. Thing that happened is, though, after I was sharing for a little bit, Facebook decided, oh, we don't like any of this. Every single post you are sharing is breaking our community standards. And I'm just talking about pictures I was sharing onto my own group that I had created. Everything, they start to ban it. And as a normal person would, I said, hey, Facebook, this is a little unfair, don't you think? And they said, yes, it is, but goodbye. And shut that account too, which is now disabled. Now, you may say, no, I don't have the Wuhan virus, don't worry. Watching this video is not going to make you in any way sick or in danger. Your computer might have a few unexpected problems, but don't worry about the Wuhan cyber virus can be beaten by the usual channels. Now, I've just got a bit of a normal sniffle. Nothing major. So, what was I saying? I've done it again, haven't I? Those of you who are used to my channel know this is quite a common occurrence where suddenly Fisher loses the flow. Never mind. So, Facebook decided we're going to ban you completely. Now, the Chronicles of Enoch page, group, and other associated groups, including the Alan J. Fisher page, still exist. I still get notifications, which is odd, don't you think? I get notifications for a page I cannot access. I think they like to torture me. I decided, and we'll touch on this a little bit later, to not let that beat me, to not let that stop the momentum the Chronicles of Enoch had been achieving at that time, because at the time it was happening, we were achieving quite a significant degree of momentum. We've been moving on, we were getting a lot of interest, we're getting a lot of people talking to us. asking questions, showing an interest, showing a desire to know more. And then it was stopped dead. So I decided, and I'll include the links here, to investigate channels such as Mastodon, such as MeWe, and other social networks that aren't associated with Facebook. And I also got a little bit more active on Twitter as well. I kept the Instagram channel, though you may see it's rather inactive, because I can't share anything that's got my URL in it, which don't you think is a little bit odd? I know obviously Instagram are associated with and owned by Facebook, so the chances of them knowing that I've been banned from Facebook and that the Chronicles of Enoch URL and everything are on the banned list, quite obviously, is all part of it. So I've achieved, as you've seen in the blog post, a degree of unexpected notoriety and fame. To a degree, I'm waiting on the fame part. It's coming, honestly. You know, obviously, I am now an outlaw as far as some places in social media are concerned. I can't share anything, I can't interact with all those hundreds of fans that I had. But never mind. What can we do? Not a great deal. But this is what I wanted to touch on. Obviously, this channel is all about the art of the storyteller. This series of videos is all about the art of the storyteller. What is it that differentiates a storyteller from other people? That passion is what separates us, I believe. That there are people, and I've seen it on social media, etc., who, when things get tough, talk about giving up. I could never give this up now that I've started. I'll tell you what, I started my, what I would call, writing career longer than that. Back when I was 15, and I'm 45 this year, so 30 years ago. For 20 odd of those years, I'd sort of given up on the dream, because I had started writing a book series that I realised bore a remarkable resemblance to what is now a very popular series known as Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer 40k Warhammer. And very remarkable resemblance. One of those pure chance things, even though someone like Graham McNeil tells me, yeah, I believe you. Honestly, I hadn't intended to do that. I wasn't even interested in Warhammer 40k when I started. I sort of fell into it later because I was writing and I thought, oh, this looks like what I'm writing. This is kind of cool. I then realised how alike it was and abandoned that project. But, and this is important, I let it slide for 20 odd years. I beg you out there, I abjure you, I encourage you not to do that. Don't give up on your dream. If it is your dream, if you're passionate enough about it, don't let it slide. Don't do what I did. I am now in my mid-40s, only now just pursuing that dream. If I had thought about what I had thought about over these past 4 years, back then who knows where I would be. Who honestly knows? If I had come up with the idea to change the Hegemony series into the original, what I called Bloodstar back then, terrible title I know. If I had come out a way to transfer that into the Hegemony series from a little idea that had fallen in my head at the time, if I found a way to blend my later series known as a Trinity series, which stalled, into it and fold it into that series, and if I thought about coming up with the Chronicles of Enoch series sooner, who alone knows where I could have been? How much work I could have done in those intervening 30 years. Okay, obviously, the self-publishing scene, the social media scene, all of that is relatively new. Back 30 years ago, it didn't exist, excuse me. And I think that coffee's a little bit too strong, and my throat's a little bit sore, so I apologise. I should get a throat sweet, but talking with a throat sweet in my mouth, I think, would be rather rude. But if I had thought about it sooner, perhaps I'd be in a completely different place now, and we wouldn't be having this conversation, because that would be too good for you people. Oh, absolutely. No. You'd just be having to pay a subscription like you do with Neil Gaiman and all those people. But jokes aside, Now, that same passion that I was talking about storytellers having is what decided me to not allow Facebook to get me down when they banned me, to investigate and discover and push alternate channels to find a different way to continue to interact with my audience and find new ways in which to do it, and find ways that are not under any form of restriction. And I'll include these in here. I went into Mastodon, I went into MeWe, I pushed my Twitter presence differently, I continued with Instagram, I investigated and fought, because this is my dream, this is my passion. Nobody is taking that away from me, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. Even if you're struggling, even if you are finding what you may call writer's block, but I personally call a complete lack of confidence in your abilities as a writer, do not let even you stop your dream. Nobody out there is capable of stopping your dream except right here. You've got it in here. This is what drives you, and this is what translates it. Your dream is more important than what other people might say. And I'll go on to that, but there's a few things I want to touch and a few things I want to mention. Now, storytellers, we are an outsider in some ways because we are very different to other people. We make other people uncomfortable, let's be honest. I even get little nudges from my wife here and there that I notice things she hadn't even considered. I seek explanations for things that she thinks are just, well, it's just like that. Why do you need to worry about it? I do. I want to know. I want to look at people doing certain things and figure out why they're doing it. I want to look at certain circumstances in the world and figure out why they're like that. The Chronicles of Enoch comes from me looking at certain circumstances in the world and asking, why is that so? And the answer is, we don't know, but I can come up with some good ideas as to why, can't I? Even if they're completely inaccurate. And I start to wonder, because of my little Facebook adventure, how accurate actually that was. Probably a lot more than you think, because Facebook actually banned me for it, which is interesting, isn't it? But anyway, to continue and to move on and to do everything in our certain way. We see the world differently, we do things differently, we consider things differently, we seek explanations that other people just leave alone or don't even think worthy of their attention. Excuse me. So, but inside of that is a passion to share it with other people, to write it down, to make something of it, to make it interesting. Sorry, children's toys behind me and wife's decor. So, we look for a way to make things work. We look for a way to understand them, a way to translate them, and are keen to share them. And in spite of what people say about us being extroverts and having a limited ego, we've got a big one, because we think what we write is worthy of other people reading. And that's an important thing to consider, because it is that passion which drives us. It's that passion which sets us apart, and that is that passion which will not allow us to quit. And you have to remember that. If you're having your doubts, if you're having a moment of indecision, a moment of difficulty, a strong case of imposter syndrome, remember your passion. Because if you give up now, when are you going to try again? What are you going to miss out on? How many versions of the story you thought of are going to appear and mean you can't write them anymore? Also, a lesson in what I was saying earlier about abandoning series, I abandoned 3, 4, maybe 5 drafts of series before I came to the ones that actually work. I put the hegemony on the back burner because the Chronicles of Enoch took me, and it stoked, drove and pushed my creativity and passion into bounds I had not considered even possible. I think it, I breathe it, I spend every free moment I have in talking about it and doing something about it and working on it and playing with the website and drafting and playing and everything. That passion which drives me is what is going to drive me to finish, and what's going to drive me to make absolutely certain I do everything I can to get it out there, to get it found. And you know, Ms. Unwin, I am talking about you. I will be contacting you. We will be having a conversation once it is ready for other people to see. and we will talk about it. And I'm sure you will enjoy it, because it is going to be bloody good. It is, and I don't speak in idle boast, perhaps I do, or overconfidence that the Chronicles of Enoch is something that is going to change the genre of epic fantasy or redefine it in ways no one ever had, because in my opinion, it's like nothing out there. It doesn't follow the traditional definitions or boundaries of any particular genre. It is moving backward and forward in time. It is moving backward and forward through different people's perspectives. It is, I suppose, you could call it a form of epic fantasy. You could call it speculative fiction. You could call it science fiction. You could call it supernatural horror fiction. You could call it all kinds of things, but it's actually all of these. It's actually each of these things and all of them at the same time. It doesn't really fit. And I mean to make something out of that. I mean to make it work, and I'm telling you all now who are watching this, one common thing I am seeing across the writers' groups, across social media, across everywhere, and questions I've been asked personally. Don't write to a genre. Don't look for the genres that are popular. Don't look for the styles and the expectations and the types of characters and the types of storylines which are popular, which sell, which are up on the lists, which are popular amongst your age group or your target age group. Do not write what you are expected to write, because you may well achieve a bit of success. But if you want long-lasting success, if you want to be remembered 10, 15, 20 years from now, if you want people to be talking about your book in classrooms, don't follow the formula. If you look at all the great authors out there, none of them did. They redefined it. Even J.K. Rowling invented a genre. Anne Rice invented a genre. Neil Gaiman invented several. All because they wrote what they were passionate about and what they wanted to write, not what people wanted them to write. Do not think, oh, I'm writing this, therefore, and this is popular, therefore I should do this, and that. And I should have this character, this one, and that one in it. And they should be this, they should be that, they should be the other. No. Write what you think. Write what you're passionate about. Write what you want to write, not what you think other people would like you to write. Because there are thousands upon thousands of books out there. And it will be your style, your manner of writing, and your passion. Your passion that will make you stand out. Not your picture on the cover, not your title, not your artwork, not your names, not your slant on a popular story arc, but your passion. Through the Chronicles of Enoch, I've come up with some rather unique and very, very interesting characters. I've come across what I call the rebellious character syndrome, where the characters appear to write themselves and change their storyline. That is because I am pushing the boundaries. I am writing what I want, and I'm letting my imagination run wild. Obviously, in editing, some of that may change. But for the time being, it's going to continue. And I'm going to make sure it's interesting and fun and very exciting. You have to let your passion drive you. You have to let your story follow its course. Do not impose artificial limits upon it. Do not impose populist culture onto it unless it's a good part of your story. Do not, shall we say, let's say as an example, take a book set in the 18th century colonial America, for example. Do not try and force modern values and modern perceptions into that storyline because you think controversy may be a problem or certain audiences may not like it. You cannot, unless you're writing speculative fiction or fantastical fiction or something like that, or speculative historical fiction, you can't change the past in order to make it more palatable. You can use the horrors that occurred in that time to tell a very important message, much better than you can in shoehorning in LGBTQA or race equality issues. You can do what Shakespeare did, and he allow people to see how bad things were, and then hint from another person's perspective about how it felt. One example I love, or two examples: The Merchant of Venice, quite a popular but less popular than some Shakespeare play. That includes two interesting main characters. We have Shylock, the Jewish merchant, and the Prince of Morocco. Now, the Prince of Morocco has a smaller part, but he has one very important line that I like. When he's asked about his race and his duskiness by Portia, one of the main female characters, who is interviewing potential suitors, he says, "If you cut open my veins, you will find my blood is as red as yours." And if you think about when that was written 500 years ago, that was not a common way of talking about race. Black people were seen as inferior savages by the majority of civilized white people. But he presented it. He challenged it and he made people think. And that's why he's still relevant today. And then we have the character of Shylock, who ultimately faces an uncertain bad end, as it were, or doesn't get what he wants and is left with a pretty sad and tragic figure. But Shakespeare makes sure we know what happens to him is tragic. We know what happens to him is unfair, because he gets the best soliloquies in that play. He gets the best speeches. He talks about how unfair things are, but that unfairness, that status quo as it was at the time, made him bitter, made him angry, made him want to seek revenge, and that was his tragic flaw. Most people don't realise I forget the name of the main character because he's that unmemorable. He was the hero of that play, not the Italian characters, because I think it was set in Venice, obviously. The actual Merchant of Venice is Shylock, not the secondary white characters, as it were. And he was a hero, and the whole thing is it was a tragedy of his fall from grace, not a tragedy of the guy who got the girl. I didn't get the girl, as it turned out in the end. It was Antonio or something, I honestly can't remember. Antonio Mercurio or something like that, some made-up Italian name that Shakespeare thought was cool. Anyway, what you have to remember is court controversy, if you must. Present things accurately, do it. But find a way to communicate with people the unfairness of this without making it too bloody obvious and be virtue signaling. I've got things in that I mention in the Chronicles of Enoch. I mention the Holocaust. I have Holocaust survivors. And I present that in a very subtle way that makes people consider it. I have 2 people who have survived the Holocaust, 3 if you want to be technical, and I present in some of their flashbacks some of the terrible things that happen. And I also have an internal dialogue of Lucifer's remembering certain things of the Holocaust and his anger at the people who perpetuated that absolutely despicable act that even Lucifer doesn't like them. Lucifer punishes them, and I design a punishment that Lucifer gives them, which I think is fitting. But it's just a passing thing. It's not a driving, shove it down people's throats. It's more of a musing of Lucifer's, remembering these people did that, they are now working for me, but when they die, oh my God, they are going to suffer. Move on to next topic. That's what you need to do if you can't change history unless that's the purpose of your book, but you can make something out about it. I even have Sable, during his time-travelling hijinks, assassinate Hitler. And it's just past in mentioning. He has a little scene where he remembers that. And again, not a vital part of the story, but it's there. That's what you have to look at. You have to use your mind, you have to think, but you have to write what you're passionate about, not what you think will engage passion in others. Because if you're writing to a genre target, to an audience target, it's going to be dry, it's going to be stale, it's going to lack life. If you're writing to your passion, it is going to jump out the page, grab people by the throat and say, read me now! Or something to that nature. And that's what's worked. I've seen it where my favourite character, who didn't start off that way as Asmodeus, is everyone else's favourite character, and people love him because I've gotten comments such as, I almost feel like I know him. Because he has traits that people can relate to, people can understand, and people can imagine he's a real person. And when you can make your characters do that, you're getting somewhere. And we're going over time now. I'm going to stop here. And thank you all for coming back. I'll get this uploaded and share it in the usual channels. Keep your eyes open. I'll try and figure out the streaming so we can actually have a live streaming. But at the end of the day, thank you all for staying loyal, for joining us, and for helping us through this difficult transitional period. We're happy to see you as usual. And again, this is Alan J. Fisher signing off on The Art of the Storyteller. I will see you soon, probably in a week or a few days. But you enjoy, you keep dreaming, you keep that passion going, you keep pushing. See you later.